Revelation 2126. From the 24th and the 25th of October 1941. Earthly light and spiritual light. All beingness pushes towards the light and flees the darkness as soon as it has once felt the benefit of the light. And since the final purpose of all creation is to redeem the being out of darkness, the benefit of light must first be shown to it so that it now strives towards the light of its own accord. It must be permeated by light, and this is the task of the light-giving celestial bodies which God let come into being for this purpose and which always and forever send their light into the universe for the enlivenment of everything that contains beingness. These light-givers now fulfill their task. They penetrate every work of creation with their rays of light, and there is nothing where the rays do not find their way. Even the solid form, which appears impenetrable in itself, feels this irradiation beneficially and thereby awakens to life, that is, it becomes active within itself, even if it is not apparent to the human eye. For the rays of light cause life to stir everywhere and nothing remains unchanged through the activity of that which awakens to life. What is active unfolds a force, and where a force expresses itself, something new comes into being. So the rays of light contribute to the increase of that which is. And this is the development of all beingness, that it constantly changes its outer shell, thus always enlivens new forms, and this is brought about by the radiation of light. The celestial bodies, which send light into the universe, thus contribute to the redemption of the beingness, for they loosen the outer form in every stage, they bring about the dissolution of the solid form, even if it lasts for an inconceivable time, they enliven the plant kingdom, which, through the radiation of light, quite obviously comes to life, that is in a state of constant change. They are also felt to be unusually beneficent by the beings who cover the earthly change in animal life. And finally, they are indispensable for the being in the last stage, for the human being, who is unable to live without light. Light is always directed to the beingness which still languishes in darkness, and it always instinctively pushes towards the light. For the beingness only feels at ease in the light. In the human stage, however, the beingness can also feel the benefit of spiritual light supply in addition to the light necessary for life and likewise strive towards it. But the latter is up to it, for this is decided by its free will, whether it desires the influx of light from the spiritual kingdom. The being in the stage of free will likewise strive for the light which continues to flow to it for the preservation of its physical life. For it also needs the light for earthly activity. As soon as the being's surroundings are light and bright, it is also willing to be active. The being constantly fights against darkness by trying to break through it through its own generation of light, as soon as the supply of light is legally interrupted. And this is also within the realm of earthly ability. The light that man needs earthly, he can also produce earthly where it is lacking. And he will make use of this ability as far as possible, for the human being longs for light as long as he carries out an activity which he does not need to hide from the world. But he does not need the light from the spiritual kingdom for his earthly activity. And therefore not every person strives to enter the circle of emanation of this light. Instead, this first depends on the strength of the desire to approach God. Spiritual light will flow to the person who opens himself to receive it. Spiritual light certainly flows towards every person but only penetrates him if he wants it to penetrate. For spiritual light is knowledge of truth, which is certainly accessible to every person but is not desired by every person. People do not need this light to carry out earthly activity, consequently only those people pay attention to it who recognize God as the eternal light and want to come close to this light. These strive for truth, They are hungry for knowledge and open their hearts to every ray of light which is imparted to them from the spiritual kingdom in the form of knowledge. For to them ignorance is a state equal to darkest night which they seek to break through, into which they want to bring light. They want to banish the darkness, they want the light to penetrate everywhere, where a shadow of ignorance can still be recognized. And this desire for light also lets the darkness flee, for where there is desire the light flows inexorably towards it. The gates are opened so that the light can penetrate unhindered. And light will constantly triumph over darkness, yet in the stage of free will a human being has to determine for himself whether light or darkness accompanies his earthly change. His will alone decides. His striving for light lets him dwell in the light. The desire for darkness, however, denies the light access to the human heart, and this will is decisive for eternity. The abundance of light depends on this will, which one day can make the being infinitely happy in eternity, or it can also lack it, for there will always be bliss where there is light, and the lack of light signifies an agonizing state for the being. Amen.